Are you a student looking for cash for the festive break? A family man or woman looking for an extra source of income? Or a business owner who wants to add to the portfolio? Well, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a car wash for all three of these categories. Starting with someone from 0 Rand all the way up to someone with basically unlimited resources. I'm going to walk you through where to build it, what tools and equipment you're going to need, what chemicals you're going to need, how to find and keep customers, and finally, how to scale the business. Now, it is helpful to keep in mind that this video is only an outline of what you need to start a car wash. It is an outline of the most basic fundamentals that you need, not a comprehensive, detailed video of how to start a specific kind of car wash in your specific kind of area. It is a kind of vague video just to get you into the mindset of starting a car washing business and starting a business in general if you're someone who's never done it before. So take everything with a massive grain of salt. Do your own research with what works for you and what you can achieve in your area, and yeah, let's jump in. So, we're gonna start with someone with 0 Rand. Absolutely nothing. It is possible to start a car wash with nothing. It is just a bit difficult though, since you're working with no money and there are a few things that are essential to washing a car. You have to get really creative if you want to be doing this. But it is possible. It's not something that is impossible. It's something that is doable. Something that you can actually scale up into a legitimate car washing business. We're gonna start off with where you can do your washes, where you're gonna build your car wash. So since we're working with zero money, you can't really have a dedicated property where you wash your cars. You can't really have a dedicated car wash. So you have to get really creative with where you do your washes. This can be your home, your family's home, your friend's home, preferably anywhere that has a shelter, but a shelter is really just optional, not something that you absolutely need. You can absolutely start a car wash in your backyard or in your front yard, as long as the place has a reasonably close source of water and a reasonably close source of electricity. You can pretty much start a car wash right there. You don't need to be paying rent anywhere. You can just start with that. Now, do keep in mind that even if it's your family's house, a friend's house, or something like that, you are still consuming electricity and water, which is something where you'd have to speak to the owner, try to make them understand that, you know what, I am still trying to start this business right now. I can give you money for the money and electricity that I'm using maybe for this month. You can kind of estimate how much electricity you're using and try to pay them that way. Really, just talking to people is really important in this stage. Since we're working with no money, you really have to be good at talking to people, making them understand your situation. Even customers, making them understand that, hey, I'm only starting this business right now. This is a bit informal for you to be coming to my house, my dad's, my mom's house, my friend's house, or something like that. But it is just for me to get started, and I should be getting a property in the next few months. But for a jumping off point, starting off with being helped by friends, their family members, people who are really close to you, is really gonna go a far way in not only just teaching you how to run a car washing business, the basics of it, but also giving you a bit of a source of an income for you to start growing your business, you know, start seeing some progress, start making some money. Right, now we're gonna get into what tools you need to run and grow your car washing business. We're gonna start with what you need to clean the exterior, the absolute basic essentials that you need. Since we are, once again, I'm gonna reiterate this, we're working with actually 0 Rand here. So again, creativity is going to be a big factor in you actually succeeding in the business and getting the basic tools and equipment. You see why I'm saying equipment in a bit. So then, for doing vehicle exteriors, you're going to need something to carry water with. This can be a bucket, 2 buckets, if you have a helper, a 15 or 20 millimeter hose pipe, although a 20 millimeter hose pipe is preferred, just because by the time you start buying pressure washers, that's a hose pipe that can really supply sufficient water for a pressure washer without kind of straining the motor and burning it out. As I've had personal experience with customers using smaller pipes than maybe what's recommended, and then the motor burning out. So it is just a thing of maybe crying once, buying a pipe once, or having a bigger pipe, since it's gonna go a long way. But since we are starting with 0 Rand, there are buckets around your home. You know that, I know that. No one can come up with an excuse that
We don't have buckets at home.
well, maybe you shouldn't be watching this video. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, just get a bucket to carry water with. You want to make sure that the place that you're washing the cars is relatively close to your water source, so that you're not doing long distance up and downs carrying water to rinse cars, wash them, stuff like that, because you are going to be carrying a lot of buckets of water if you're doing a full wash on a car with just your buckets. It is a tad unprofessional, a tad unusual for customers to see you carrying buckets of water, pouring it on the car, but once again goes back to just talking to people, making them understand that you're just hustling, you know. This is a stage for people who are relatively young. You don't really have a source of income, you're trying to build something, and customers are really lenient to people like that, and you can really just run your business like that. It's not a problem. Now that you have something to carry the water with, you actually need things to wash the car, physically wash the dirt off the car. What is preferable to be used in a car wash are microfiber cloths and microfiber wash mitts. But since we're working with nothing here, you're going to want to find the softest cloths you can around the house. Old cloths, old face washing cloths, stuff like that. Really finding cloths that are really like soft to the touch, because that's going to translate to not as many scratches getting on the car. Now, this is really not an ideal situation. You're going to end up with micro scratches in the customer's paint over time, but for just starting out, it's really not that bad. You can start with just old cloths that you use around the house. People normally just use those kinds of cloths anyways when they wash the cars themselves, so it's really not that big of a deal when you're just starting out, but you really want to get into microfiber stuff as soon as you can. You don't want to be the person responsible for scratching a customer's BMW M4 and then having to repair it somehow. You really just want to start out with those types of cloths with your first few customers, and then as soon as possible get into microfibers and stop all the scratching of the paint. But for just starting out with 0 rand, old cloths work perfectly. You're also going to need medium-sized brushes for your tires and the inside of your fender well. These are really important. Cleaning tires effectively. For rims, you can use the cloths that you use to do the body, to do the rims. But for the tires, to get a lot of that grime out, you do need something that is a bit more abrasive, that does have a bit more scrubbing power. And for things like insides of the fender liners, you do need a kind of tougher brush to get through what can get on the fender lining, mud and such. Especially for something like carpeted fender liners, an absolute nightmare that I've ran into and that I have, funny enough, on my BMW. You do really need brushes, especially when you're not working with a pressure washer, you're just working with like just pouring water onto it. You do need something to kind of scrub away at the dirt so that it's easier to rinse off. Now for the interior, it's relatively simple. You only need like a soft towel for wiping down dashboard, the plastics, the seats, stuff like that, and for applying any kind of interior conditioners that you have. You also need something like a clean shoe brush or a clean rug brush for the mats. It's really difficult to try and brush dirt out of car mats. If you've tried, you know how difficult it is, but it's not impossible. And for someone who doesn't have access to a vacuum cleaner and needs money, you're going to be doing that. It's not an option. But yeah, getting yourself a real good quality clean rug brush, because the carpets on some customers' interiors are a lighter color, like light gray or light brown, and you don't really want a brush that's already maybe filled with maybe shoe polish, because once you start scrubbing on that mat, guess what happens? All that polish that was on the brush goes onto the mat, and now you have an even bigger problem than what you already started with. You really just want clean brushes that you can use for scrubbing car mats and stuff like that. And that's about all the tools and the equipment that you need at a basic level that you can get around the house for completely free. Now, getting into what chemicals you need. At this level, we're not really buying any kind of car chemical. Like, once again, reiterating here, we're working with 0 rand. Really don't have money to be buying chemicals. What you can do is use chemicals that are maybe by chance already around the house. Maybe someone in the family owns a car, or you own a car and you already have some stuff. One of those things being car shampoo, which is really essential, but once again, I understand if you maybe don't have access to that. It's not something that's really commonplace in people who are not maybe into cars, who don't really look at cars as more than a mode of transport. An alternative to car shampoo, which I'm sure some of you are screaming through your screens for, is using dish detergent, which is really bad for car paint, like really bad. But if you're starting in this business and you don't really have anything, I'm talking about you don't have a cent, you have like 0 rand, and you really want to start this business, you can use it, but please use as little as possible, just to make the water soapy in the bucket, and then just leave it alone. Don't pour a bunch of it into the bucket, because those things are built to degrease dishes that are filled with all kinds of food oils and stuff like that, which are amongst the worst types of oils. So if you're putting that type of strong detergent onto car paint, it's gonna start eating away at the clear coat, and it's gonna start damaging the customer's paint. The paint's gonna start fading, stuff like that. Please, this is just a last resort if you really don't have an option and you really want to get started in this business and you don't have access to car shampoo. Don't use this detergent to wash your cars, please, man, unless it's absolutely necessary and you're absolutely desperate. Try your best to get car shampoo one way or another, please. But that's I'm gonna stop ranting now and move on to the next item. Now, another kind of chemical, basic chemical for doing a basic wash, is something to make the tires shiny with. Kiwi shoe polish, the one that we all used in primary and high school. If you put it onto your tire really thick and then you buff it, you can start with buffing it with a brush, just to get a majority of it out once it's dried onto the tire, and then coming back with like a dedicated tire cloth to buff it cleanly to get a bit of a sheen. Not a bit of a sheen, it does give a considerable amount of sheen for what it is, although it does take a lot of elbow grease to apply it. Buff it once with the brush and come back, buff it again with the cloth. But that's something where you just have to trade time for money, because you don't have money to be spending on expensive tire coatings like that. So yeah, this is a really good option if you just want to get started. One last thing that you may or may not have access to is some kind of dashboard or plastics conditioner. Those are sprays that you see for the dashboard. Those are really bad, you want to avoid those. But you know what, if you have those, it can add a bit of something to your washes. Just don't overuse them, because they're very obnoxious and can send the wrong message to the customer that you're really unprofessional, and then they just never come back to you. But using a bit of it here and there just to protect the plastics, give it that car wash smell, if you can call it that. Yes, you can use it if you have it at your disposal, but if you don't, that's also fine. Just basically, when you do your interiors, wipe the interior down with a clean damp cloth, just to get a lot of the dust and oils off of everything. You can just leave it there, and over time, as you do more washes, you can afford to buy quality interior plastics conditioners and return plastics to their kind of factory satin look. So that's where just scaling the business over time comes into play. Right, let's get into how to find and keep customers for this business, and starting this business in this type of way with a budget of 0 rand. Now, you really want to, once again, comes back to talking to people, leveraging every relationship you have, leveraging every WhatsApp contact you have, leveraging every person that you know with a car, and really just trying to grow your business off of their support. You can start off by doing free washes for friends and family, and then make sure that you talk them into always having their car washed by you, and make sure that you do a really good job with their car. Basically just perfection, to make sure that they always come back to you. Also, in your conversations with them, because they are friends and family, tell them that, you know what, recommend your friends, recommend your family members to come to me, because you've seen my work now. I do quality work and I am trying to grow this business. Now, while you're doing all these washes for the friends and family, you want to make sure that you're taking as many high quality photos and videos as you can before and after you wash a car. You're gonna take all these quality photos and videos that you've taken so far, and you're gonna put them on every social media that you can think of. I'm talking Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, X, Twitter X, the same thing. But really just putting yourself out there as much as possible and just trying to garner as much attention as possible through high quality content creation. You want to really put an emphasis on content creation because this is your only strategy to grow your business at this point. If you don't have any money to throw into the business, creating content around the business on basically every social media, it increases your chances of someone in your area randomly discovering one of your videos, clicking on it, enjoying it, and maybe booking a wash with you or contacting you and stuff like that. You really want to make sure that you're putting yourself out there as much as possible. This extends into also having a WhatsApp business profile, just having a catalog of all the types of washes that you do. If you have different types of washes, if you have one type of wash, it's fine. Just have a catalog of all of the work that you've done, all the before and afters, all the beautiful high quality photos you've taken after doing washes, and all the bad photos before that show the transformation of the car and what you're capable of. This is going to be your marketing strategy and how you grow your business. This is going to be your business. Content is going to be king in you prospering in the car washing business, which is something very different from what normal car wash owners normally do. They don't have a big social media presences because normally they're not really in this generation of being in touch with all the latest technology. You really want to take advantage of how they're disadvantaged and portray yourself as the best at what you do, because that's how you're gonna grow your business. Right then, the last part of this is how to scale the business. So then scaling the business obviously comes after starting the business and after starting to have consistent customers. Once you start having consistent customers, you'll have consistent income, means you can afford to invest back into the business. So now at this stage, what you want to do is, maybe if you were borrowing the phone that you were taking photos with before, maybe buying an old iPhone, an iPhone 11, iPhone 12. They're reasonably priced for the value that you get, and you get a lot of really high quality content that is going to increase your engagement tenfold in the future. You also want to post as consistently as possible and taking those posts and doing promoted ads with them, like the promoted post feature on Instagram or the same thing on TikTok. Really just trying to push that content out as much as possible by investing as much as you can afford to invest into that side of the business, which is the marketing side. You really want to make sure that your target demographic, meaning your target audience, the people that you want to be seeing your ads, are people who own cars in your areas, because it's gonna waste a lot of your ad spend if you're targeting, maybe let's say for example you're targeting men from the age of 18 to 60 years old. That's a really broad range, and you don't know how many people in that range live in your area, number one, and how many people in that range own a car in your area, number two. So you really want to target your ads as much as possible to people around you, people in your area who own cars, so that you make sure that you get as much of an ROI out of your investment as possible. Like I said, this entire video is really vague and just the basics. This is also me just giving you the basics of marketing, so really just go back, do your own research into social media, advertising, stuff like that, marketing. Really make sure that you know what you're doing before you just delve into it, because I just gave you the idea. Make sure that you take this idea as a jumping off point to do your own research, to learn as much as possible about marketing and about business from this point on. Now that you are starting to have consistent customers, we can also start to look at investing into things that save us time, so that we're not investing as much time for money as we were before. These can include things like pressure washers, vacuum cleaners, the absolute basics of both of those machines, just to make sure that you're saving as much time as possible when you're doing your washes. This really goes a long way in just increasing your efficiency, increasing how much money you're making on a weekly basis. It really goes a long way into growing your business. So make sure that as soon as you can, you start buying high quality pressure washers, high quality vacuum cleaners, just to make sure that you get to the goal of getting your own property as soon as possible by making money as quickly as possible by investing into assets for your business. Once you start making more money, again, you are afforded more time. This is more time for you to put into yourself as a business owner or into your employees if you're at that stage where you're hiring people. But you really want to make sure that you're learning as many skills as possible that you can apply directly to your business. This includes skills like paint correction, interior deep cleaning, wheel cleaning, engine cleaning. All that type of stuff really accumulates and increases your product range or your service range, what you're offering customers. Having as many offerings as possible means that you're open to as many customers as possible, because we don't know what customers want. So us offering everything that they could possibly want increases our chances of that coming to us and wanting our services. So you really want to put a lot of that time, a bit of that money into learning those skills and really just leveling up your business in that way, broadening what it does, broadening its expertise and growing it within the industry. Once again, going back to just saving time to make money as quickly as possible, you want to try and start developing a systematic method for washing cars. You want to know when a car pulls up to you to get washed, what you're starting with, what you're ending with, and how long that's going to take you. You really want to make sure that you're cutting down the time it takes you to do a wash as much as possible without compromising any quality. And you do this by knowing that you're going from here to here to here to here. Having that planned out in your mind, having that plan in your mind really goes a long way, and avoid you just standing there finishing one part of the car, just kind of wasting a lot of your time. You want to make sure that you have your process down, you know what you're doing, so that it's also easy for you when you start onboarding employees, that they know what they have to do because you already have it in your mind. You're able to write it down for them so that they do washes as quickly as possible. A lot of these small steps that you take at the beginning of a business really snowball over time and really just contribute to you growing a massively successful business in the future. And the last point for how to scale this type of business is really trying to move out of that friends or family member space and trying to find your business's own space. This can be an old car wash that you just rent from someone. This can be a piece of land that you turn into a car wash, which you're gonna get into in the next category, or something like that. This category was really just about starting off and trying to get to this level. And from this level is when we can start moving to the next category.